Somebody's been eating my sauerkraut. You know, this is one of the healthiest probiotics that you can eat today. My kids love it. My grandson loves it. But it is one of the healthiest food sources you can possibly get. Let me show you how to make an old-fashioned sauerkraut. Just a month ago, I did a class, and we posted it on 4Life Creations, and it had more of a kimchi style with spices. Today, I'm going to make a sauerkraut with just cabbage and salt. Watch how I do it. So today, we're going to use both the red and the green cabbage. I'm going to make most likely a small jar for the demonstration. I generally like to make 2 of these. That represents 3 quarts. And then I also like to use the old-fashioned crock because I can make a gallon in here. And the last time I made a gallon, it was a little spicier. I let it go for 6 weeks. So we're going to use sea salt. We've got an airlock for the jar, a wired jar, a dish for the inside. I like to use a funnel. It's less messy. Of course, a stomper. We'll get back to that in a moment. So let's begin by showing you how I cut the cabbage. Here's how we're going to get started. I like to cut just a little bit of the end off. And then I always take that which is left over and save it. Not for my kids, but for their chickens. So we'll save that. So we're going to cut the cabbage. I like to cut it in half. And then I like to half it again along the core. And then I'm going to cut the core out, set that aside, and then what I like to do is take the cabbage and cut it a little thicker. I don't like using a food processor because I like it crisp, so you can cut it anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch. This one I'm going to do at about 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch. So when you get it cut, you're just going to put it in a bowl. I'm going to pour just, maybe a tablespoon of the salt into the bowl. Just mix it up a little bit. I'm going to let it set. It'll draw the water out of the cabbage. And you will be amazed at how much water comes out of this cabbage without adding anything. Now, we're going to do the red cabbage. Now, as we're cutting the red cabbage, you know, I think about my mother when we were growing up on the farm. She canned every year several hundred quarts, tomatoes and peppers and cauliflower. And I mean, we lived off of our garden. We lived off of our garden, had our own milk. I mean, it was all part of just growing up. And I learned some valuable lessons, and I've come to just appreciate what it takes to eat healthy, to grow your own foods. And we've gotten away from that. Today, we're eating way too much processed foods, too much fructose, and it's causing diabetes and all kinds of problems. So if you can get back to eating healthy, like my mother did when we were kids, your family's going to be a lot better off, and it's not a lot of work. So take a lesson from my mom. Can, cook, make some of your own foods, because you'll be a lot healthier, and it doesn't take that much energy, and it is really a lot of fun. I put in 2 tablespoons of salt for every 2 quarts, approximately. You'll get used to it, and the more salt you use, the sourer it's going to be. In the wintertime, when the temperature in the room's a little cooler, you may use a little bit more salt and pull back a little bit, because the fermentation process speeds up as you have a little warmer climate. So I like to let it run somewhere around 2 weeks. You can do this in a week, and here I'm going to just mix it in while I talk to you. But you can do this in a week, and you've got great sauerkraut. Put it in the refrigerator after a week, and just go ahead and eat it. I would start tasting it within 7 days, but I'm finding that if I keep the temperatures right, in about 2 weeks, it's not only delicious, but it's still crisp. And this last batch, I let go 6 weeks, but the temperatures they were in the 60s. So here, all I'm doing is mixing in the salt by hand, crunching it down, and then sometimes it makes it nice to just take a you'll just see how I do it here. Just kind of beat it down a little bit. And this, maybe just 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes and get a little exercise while you're doing it. My filming buddy, we do this together. The problem is that the reason it's 5 takes is every time I make this, I turn around, he eats it. He takes it home. So today, when we get done, it's going in a jar, and it goes in hiding. Now watch me put it in a jar. So you're just going to do it by hand. In a minute, you're going to see this collect juices. So it's already got moisture on the bottom of the bowl, but I think this will actually surprise you. So we can edit that. And then I like these jars because you can get your hand in there, and you want to press it down as tight, get all the air out. Make it as tight, or get a stomper, wooden one, and press it down. If you have a little leftover cabbage, just put it in another smaller jar and do the same thing. So you don't need to add any liquid. What you'll do, press it down tight, and then tomorrow the water level will be up to the top on its own. Now take a look close, and you'll see by me pressing it down, the water coming right up to the top. That's how much juice there is in the cabbage already. I like to put a little dish in it. You can also put a cabbage leaf inside and press it down and put a little weight on top. That will keep everything underwater. So tomorrow, the water level will come up and probably fill the dish tomorrow. And then I'll pour that water liquid off, put it in the refrigerator. The next day it'll do the same. And then after about 7 days, the water gets pulled back into the cabbage. And what you'll want to do at that point is take the liquid you've saved out of the refrigerator, put it back in the jar, and in 7-10 days, you got a great sauerkraut. Leave it longer. It just keeps getting better and better. It stores wonderful in the refrigerator for many months. So I like to fill the airlocks up about 3/4 full, and that allows for the off-gassing as the fermentation process picks up, and it'll allow the gases to go out, but the water prevents any air from going back in. It's clean. People using an old-fashioned crock like I have, I use weights. You really don't need to, but my mother just taught me to be particularly careful, and she always talked about botulism. Scared me to death growing up. So everything I do with precision. I've never had anybody get sick. There's no mold. A perfect way to cook. And just enjoy this with your friends. Start getting healthy. Eat healthy. It'll keep you away from the doctors. But as I leave you today, I want to just say God bless you. I've been a pastor for 40 years, and I just have a love for people, and maybe we'll have a meal together sometime. I'll bring the sauerkraut. We'll cook together.